This is Hashtag Finance, presented to you by the Canadian Securities Exchange, the exchange for entrepreneurs. With your host, Barrington Miller.
Welcome to an edition of Hashtag Finance. I'm your host, Barrington Miller, from the Canadian Securities Exchange, Director of Listed Company Services. And today I'm here with the CEO from BetterLife Pharma, Mr. Doroudian. How do you do, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
First and foremost, how is your family doing during COVID?
Family's been doing very well. Just knock on wood. We're in Vancouver and seem to be holding up pretty well. It was trying times for the last 4 months, but everyone's safe and healthy. How about yours?
We are all good. We've been working from home. Most of the stock exchange, I'd say at least 90%, is working from home. We've been deemed an essential service. So, thankfully there's been, thankfully on that front, we haven't had any change. We've actually, when you talk to people, we've actually been busier, it seems. Nothing has slowed down. We have almost 600 tradable securities, and
wow,
we're still getting listings, in cannabis and psychedelics, or psilocybin. Of course, mining is, I keep saying mining's coming back. Mining
right.
is coming back. But we're here to talk about what's going on in the world and to find out a little bit more about your company. And for starters, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you came to be at BetterLife?
Sure, thank you. I have been in the pharmaceutical business for the last 30 years or so. I have a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences from UBC, in drug metabolism, pharmacokinetics, all the good sciences that I haven't used in the last 30 years because I've been mostly an entrepreneur, starting companies related to pharma or biotech, building a management around it and capitalizing it, and taking it from stock exchange, from private to public, creating liquidity and funding good plans and good programs and good products. And happy to be in this space right now because we have a great team and a great platform right now to make a difference, hopefully in the treatment of COVID-19, which has devastated many parts of the world right now.
And
Right.
of course, everybody knows that it's around and what's happening on a global scale. What is BetterLife working on? What are they doing and what have they come up with?
BetterLife is merging with a company called Altum Pharmaceuticals, which I was the founder as well. And one of the projects of Altum was a drug that's used for the treatment of HPV virus. It's called interferon-alpha-2b. And for 3-4 years, Altum has been developing that product. And when earlier this year, COVID pandemic hit, it was through some previous literature, it was clear that interferon-alpha-2b has antiviral activities and it could be specific against COVID. And later in January, early February, study was done out of Wuhan, which was the epicenter of the pandemic, by Canadian researchers led by Dr. Eleanor Fish at Toronto General, that showed that interferon-alpha-2b in an inhalation form could be effective in treating COVID patients at the early stage. So the team quickly started working on developing this inhalation form and looking at a clinical plan to use this in patients that are diagnosed or tested positive for COVID. And we've had great, set of scientific and clinical data in the last couple of months supporting that. So currently we're putting our plans together to do a 150 patient phase 2 trial in Canada later this year. So we believe that the treatment of COVID and attacking this virus requires a cocktail of weapons, if you will. A direct attack like remdesivir, the famous Gilead drug, and also indirect attack like our drug, which is immunomodulator. It enhances your immune system to fight this. And this was shown very effectively in the study that was done in 77 patients that showed the ones that took inhalation form of interferon, they recovered much faster. They didn't need oxygen or ventilators. So our plan now, where we're happy, we're a proud Canadian company to put this together going forward for the next 3 to 6 months to get this drug through the clinical phase 2 trials, and then go with an emergency use authorization from FDA and Health Canada to take it to the next step and hopefully make an impact in the lives of patients.
How early, I mean, I know the earlier the better,
Right.
but is there an ideal, I guess, use time? Is it within the first couple weeks or?
Yes. So as soon as you're tested positive,
Yep.
as soon as you're tested positive or you see symptoms like coughing and fever, this product could be used. That's how we're positioning it. That we're also doing a lower dose format of the same drug for prevention. For example, if you know a pandemic is coming, your frontline healthcare workers, you don't have the virus, but you're exposed to it, like hospital workers, school buses, waiters, everybody who comes across with the public and wants to be protected. So the lower dose format would help enhance that immune system to fight this thing. So we think both are needed, but obviously the primary focus is for the treatment as soon as possible to get the higher dose format out, hopefully later this year, under emergency use authorization into patients.
What is emergency use authorization? Is that a bypass or?
Yeah, this bypasses the usual regulatory approval process that FDA and Health Canada and other regulatory agencies look at, because you have to have a set of preclinical, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and so on. But in the situations like this, there's a pandemic and a global need for this. If there is enough sufficient data and the trial data is statistically powered enough, the regulators give you emergency use authorization for that period of time. It's not infinite, and that can be taken away. So for that period of time, for example, we want to contain this pandemic in city of Toronto or other areas, and you get to use this. And then while you set up your phase 3 program for eventual commercialization on the regular format.
Well, this would definitely lead to a better life. So let's backtrack a bit. A year ago, or even 6 months ago, where was BetterLife headed? Where was
BetterLife has always been, it started as an R&D company to have better delivery system for cannabinoids and cannabis products. For example, topical or oral that can be dosed properly for people who are not necessarily cannabis users, but they will go to Shoppers Drug Mart and buy a cream to alleviate their pain in their joints and so on. So it started about 2 years ago by licensing a delivery system from Altum, the private company that I spoke to you about, for specifically just cannabinoids. So it's always been an R&D company. So for 2 years leading to beginning of this year, it did a lot of product formulation development, testing with researchers in Israel and Germany to develop these things. And the premise was to be a pharma grade type product, consumer products that was developed not just by putting stuff together, but actual data and
Right.
pharma people, because we saw the cannabis space, we didn't get a lot of LPs and grow ups and things like that, and then physicians that were using it, but the pharma type development was missing. So that's how BetterLife came together. And now with the merger of the two, we have obviously more enhanced programs, but COVID takes precedent over everything else, as you can imagine.
Definitely. For our investors who are either currently with you or who may want to invest,
Right.
what is your differentiator right now between you and other companies that are working on a potential solution for COVID and their delivery mechanisms?
So that's a great question. Specifically, because we were working on interferon alpha 2b for a topical format against another virus, which is the HPV, we've had a lot of experience with interferon alpha 2b, and this compound has been has been used for the last 40 years. It's been on the market for a long time and was used against hepatitis, hep C virus in humans, and marketed under Intron A by Merck. They have discontinued the production of this. We have a lot of experience with how you produce this interferon alpha 2b, and we were standing out as the only group on the planet wanting to advance and create a new way of manufacturing this product that was basically discontinued. And it's a biologic. It's a very hard thing to make. It's 166 amino acids long, and the way it was made all this time was really an old technology going back 30, 40 years. So we have developed a new technology. It's a cloning technology that creates the only pure, what we call isoform-free form of interferon alpha 2b. It was done with collaboration with the NRC in Canada, National Research Council, late last year, earlier this year. And we have a patent pending process to create the only pure interferon alpha 2b. And we're now taking that drug substance through its process to scale it up. Again, lots of technology is going into this to be the only group that can do this. And one of the biggest issues with interferon therapy is side effects. So these impurities called side effects. So what differentiates us is that we will be the only group that has this process to create the purest form of interferon alpha 2b, which is known to be a potent antiviral agent. It has shown in limited clinical setting in Wuhan and with Canadian researchers to be effective against Wuhan, and its mechanism of action against the virus and viral activity is well known. It goes back many, few decades. So we think that regardless of vaccination and other treatments, interferon alpha 2b will always be part of the arsenal of products you need to attack this virus. So it's like the best analogy is really HIV.
Right.
After 30, 40 years, we don't have a vaccine for HIV, but no one really dies. We don't have a pandemic of HIV, people dying of this, because there's a cocktail of treatments that as soon as you're diagnosed, it keeps you alive and it limits the virus replication and makes you a healthier. I mean, there are people living with HIV now for a long time. So we think this will happen eventually with COVID or variations of it, is that interferon alpha 2b, which we will have the premier product, will have the best chance of containing it while other treatments are coming to attack the virus.
You know, we've spoken with more than a few companies who are all working, and we thank them for their service, who are working on solutions. You're one of the only ones who have said, we're not trying to cure it. We're not trying to eradicate it. We're trying to treat it while in the process of working on a cure. And that's really something. And as well, the cocktail approach is, you're right. You know, we compare it to HIV, and we've seen the way it was 20 years ago and the way it is now, 20, 30 years ago, and the way that it is now. It's a completely different story.
Right.
And I hope, I hope something changes, and we just wish you continued success.
Thank you.
Now let's talk a little bit about the future. No, let's go back. Sorry. The team that you are working with.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about your squad.
The team is highly experienced, average of 20 to 30 years experience in this in the field of drug development, from operations to CMC, which is drug substance production, to clinical, our chief medical officer, and we are about 7 people managing about 41 different groups, service providers, from biologics manufacturers to fermentation specialists to regulatory experts for FDA, biostatistician. It takes a village and a half, if you will, to do something like this. So, it's really a most efficient way to conduct these, because there are experts in every area that are so focused that for us to recreate that as a small company makes no sense, as they will take. So we have, from the NRC group that started with the cloning of the E. coli, to people in Colorado, our CMC group, and our chief medical officer in Texas, our operations people in Toronto, and everybody in between. We have a great diverse group that are very, very experienced in what they're doing. So Dr. Angela Ogden is our chief medical officer. She's based in Texas, close to MD Anderson Cancer Center, highly experienced person. Hushmand Sheshbaradaran is in Toronto. He's a operations COO from Roche and Johnson & Johnson background. And God bless him, Scott Drudge in Colorado. He's the head of our CMC. He was very critical in putting the production of interferon the way we are doing it, and quarterbacking that with various groups that we have worked with, from Fujifilm in UK and NRC, and now group in Massachusetts, putting this together in a fill finish format vial that we can actually put in a nebulizer. So we have a great team of highly experienced, and I think I couldn't have asked for a better group of people, especially when we came across this awful pandemic. We thought everything else was going to come to a stop, which it did, the other programs, to get it off the ground. Usually this stuff takes 2-3 years, but you had to really step up your game to get this off the ground. So I'm very happy with the team and how they've put this together.
Well, you've definitely shown the entrepreneurial spirit in your ability to pivot so quickly and so readily to, like you said, step up to the global plate. Clinical trials phase 2, I believe you said, would happen later this year.
Yes.
What does that mean for an investor, for somebody who is?
Well, that's really usually the critical part of taking a proof of concept to the next stage that shows that commercial viability of a product. Because at that time, you've kind of addressed the safety issues, you've addressed the drug substance issues and things like that. So if you look at the way you can model these things for an investor and creating value at every step, you're reducing the risk. So, you know, when you're in a
Right.
molecule with a patent in a university, you have 2% chance of success. But when you get to phase 2, and with a drug that's already approved with another indication, so we're not creating something completely out of the blue, you get, you know, more than 60, 70, 80% chance of success, the way we're doing it, and some previous work that has been done. We think that creates a great you know, vehicle for investors to hopefully gain a lot from this going forward.
Well, we definitely wish you, like I said, continued success, and all our thoughts are going to be positive towards you and your team.
Thank you.
If you're looking for this, excuse me, and other interviews, you can please visit CSE_TV on YouTube. You can check us out on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, as well as www.thecse.com. If you're looking for the stock, the Better Life, it is BETR, trading on the Canadian Securities Exchange. I've been your host, Barrington Miller, and this has been an edition of #Finance.